Welcome to the next episode of Decants with D. I am Dietmar Ostermann, the regular guy from Long Island. Tonight we are diving into French red wines. France is the epicenter of wine. They have been farming and producing wine there for over 1,000 years. And red wine is particularly famous and important in France. And it is easily considered to be the most important wine region of the world. And in terms of production, France is producing 700 million cases of wine per year. That's close to 5 million liters. That's second in the world after Italy. And France has about 2.5 million acres of land that is being farmed for wine. That also is second, but behind Spain. So in every aspect of the equation, France is critically important for wine and particularly for red wine. There are probably arguably 11 regions, major regions or areas where wine is produced in France. 6 of them are particularly important for red wine, and French red wine is what we're gonna cover tonight. So those 6 areas are Bordeaux, world famous, Burgundy, world famous, the Rhône area, which really splits into northern Rhône and southern Rhône area, the Midi area, also referred to and called Languedoc, Provence in the south of France, as well as the southwest area with the areas like Bergerac. Out of those 6 major red wine producing areas, we want to focus, because of the significant importance, on Burgundy, Bordeaux, and the Rhône wine. And within Rhône wine, I will specifically dive into Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Those happen to also be my 3 favorite French red wines. And if you look at this book down here, I have several books out that I typically study and refer to. But down here, the World Atlas of Wine, in its 8th edition, is probably the most significant book on wine in my count. And they have, when you open up the Bordeaux section, 30 pages on Bordeaux alone. And when you flip over to the Burgundy section, they have 26 pages on Burgundy wine. So that tells you how important that is, because I think the entire North American market is captured probably in 10 or 15 pages. Now, let's start and get a little bit more deeply into Burgundy wine. Burgundy is the area in France, more on the northeast side of France, that starts with Dijon and goes south from there. There's important towns that everybody may have heard about around the world, like Vosne-Romanée, Champagne-Montrachet, Coligny-Montrachet. Those are very important wine villages in the Burgundy region. The 6 sub-regions that we want to talk about in Burgundy is Chablis, Côte de Nuits, Côte de Beaune, Côte Chalonnaise, Mâconnais, and Beaujolais. Out of those, we are tasting tonight a Côte de Nuits wine, and the wine I'm introducing it right now is from the very important vineyard of Fay-Valny in the town of Chambord-Musigny, right here. This happens to be a 2014 wine. There is probably several hundred chateaus in Burgundy, of which there are 33 that are producing a Grand Cru, the most important wine in Burgundy. And you will have heard, you cannot not have heard, about the legendary Romanée-Conti, probably the most expensive wine in the world, at least one of them. I can't afford it, and I never had one, I will easily admit that. but there are a lot more affordable Burgundy wines, and one of which, a very good one, we will drink tonight. Switching over to Bordeaux, here the wine that I have selected in the middle. Bordeaux has 15 major regions, and in those 15 major regions there's 57 sub-regions. There's over 700 chateaus in Bordeaux. 61 of those were introduced in the 1855 classification system of France, where because of the interest to promote French wine overseas, they identified what they thought were the best French wines at that time in Bordeaux. And the 5 classifications in Bordeaux, first growth, second growth, third growth, fourth growth, fifth growth, are the 61 arguably among the best chateaus in Bordeaux. In the first growth, these are the most expensive, well-known Bordeaux wines in the world. You may have heard every single one of them. Certainly, if you are a little bit into wine, these 5 are Chateau Latour, Chateau Haut-Brion, Chateau Lafite Rothschild, Chateau Mouton Rothschild, and Chateau Margaux. I used to collect those, but they are way too expensive now, and particularly I couldn't overcome drinking $1,000 bottle of wine. So I have long departed from collecting and drinking first growth Bordeaux. But even the second growth Bordeaux, there's about a dozen or maybe even a dozen and a half of them, are incredibly good. And I have some of those second growth Bordeaux collected right here. This is the Chateau Léoville-Baton, a very favorite of mine. Second growth, this is a 2006 from Saint-Julien. This one here is the Decants, also a second growth wine. This one is from 2014, also Saint-Julien as the region. And this one is the Chateau Cantenac Brown. This is a third growth Bordeaux from 2015. All those are a little bit more affordable. We are talking about, let's say on average, $150 a bottle when they first come out. And then I buy the ones that are acclaimed, highly rated in certain years, 2006, 2014, 2015, all pretty good years, and put them away for half a dozen or a dozen years. Both the Bordeaux wines as well as these classic French Burgundy wines age well. So drinking a 10 or 20 year old wine from these good wines, these good chateaus, easily doable if they are properly stored. Even they last up to 30 years. So some of the most famous vintages of all times in Bordeaux that were talked about when I first got into wine was in 1961 Bordeaux, and I don't think I ever had one. Then 1982 was the next legendary year, and I did have in 1982 a long time ago. Then 1986, 1989, and I had a lot of 1989s. Then 1990 was very good. In 1995, and I had a lot of 95. I, at that time, lived in Europe, and I even bought a whole entire case of Chateau Margaux. I had a whole entire case of the 1995 Decants. And over the years, I drank them or I resold them after, a decade of years with a big profit. More recently in Bordeaux, they make it very easy for you. 2000 excellent year, 2005 excellent year, 2010, 2015. All great years to get some Bordeaux and put them away for a long time. You may have heard in your discussions about French Bordeaux wine the term left bank versus right bank. And what that refers to really is that the left banks are more Cabernet-based wines and the right banks are more Merlot-based wines. Merlot is the number one fruit in Bordeaux. 60% of all the plantations are Merlot wine, 25% Cabernet, and then about 10-15% or so is Cabernet Franc. And most of the French Bordeaux wines have some sort of a blend of Cabernet, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot. So for instance, left bank is the famous Medoc region, right bank is the famous Saint-Emilion or Pomerol region. I have here selected none of the top 5 grows. I went a little bit more affordable in the $50 range, but a very favorite of mine, the Chateau Fromage. Chateau Fromage 2015, supposed to be a very good wine, and I like this vineyard a lot. So those are some introductory comments on Burgundy and Bordeaux. I make it short on Rhône, Northern Rhône region, Southern Rhône region. Totally in the big Rhône region, there's 22 subregions. The Chateaus de Pape that I have right here is in the southern part of Rhône, and obviously all of those are around the Rhône River. Chateaus de Pape sits right around the town of Amiens. This one is a 2016 Domaine de Vineyards, supposed to be also a very good wine. Out of those 3, I did have the Chateau Fromage before, but not the 2015. So all of those, for as it relates to the wine and the year together, is new for me. Hey, here's Dee from the editing studio. I'm working on the French wine video and realizing it's getting too long. And I don't want to cut any of the good content out. So that's why I'm cutting the video into 2. The first part that explains the different wine regions in France relative to red wine. And then the second video that I publish next Sunday, where we actually taste these wines. So please watch both. I see you next week. Bye-bye.